forgiving's one of the hardest parts. But you can't go into the healing side of things until you truly forgive.
Right, right,
A lot of people would jump from accepting and just go, I'm going to go and heal now, but they won't forgive this scenario. They won't forgive the person involved. So they're not doing all this healing, but they're kind of trapped. And then they spend years in healing because they actually haven't gone through that deep process of acceptance and forgiveness, which is difficult. It's
right,
not easy, but it's so possible if you just practice, because it's all about disconnecting or disconnecting the energies, but it's also allowing yourself to shift the perspectives of the meaning of what that event means to you. That's the most important, because memories are what holds our triggers, right? Our memories to the stories, the belief systems, and whatever belief systems there is a perspective that we have held on to our own selves.
My dear viewers, welcome to another episode of our interview series where I bring you real stories, expert insights, and actionable strategies for personal growth and mental wellness. I am Richardon Barandino, mental health advocate and your online motivational content creator. Today, I am honored to sit down with Kane Novak from Australia, someone who faced incredible challenges throughout his life. From surviving abuse as a child, enduring painful personal struggles, to rebuilding his life and business after devastating setbacks. Kane's story is one of resilience, transformation, and hope. As a professional transformation consultant, Kane now dedicates his life to helping others find their true potentials, just as he did for himself. In this interview, my dear viewers, we will dive into his personal experiences, the challenges he faced, and the valuable lesson he learned along the way. So, without further ado, let's proceed with this insightful conversation. Right. So, to start with, can you introduce yourself and share a bit about your background to our viewers?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Kane Novak. I'm a guide for conscious business leaders that want to go through transformational leadership using storytelling and mastering their own personal mastery to elevate their own visions. So, what I do is teach people about themselves and the mindset associated to noticing the patterns in their life to change the perspective of their own stories. Stories are the key things that hold us back, hold us all back. Their belief systems. So the beliefs that are inside of us. This is what I focus on. Allowing people to be their most authentic self with the vision that they wish to have. A little bit about me: I've spent over 30 years in the film and entertainment industry. Much of that time studying human behavior with acting, understanding why people respond the way they do. Every word, every subtext, everything is associated to past beliefs, past actions, and humans react in certain ways depending on their past experiences and how they view them, how they view their past experiences. Mm-hmm. So I've spent my life just understanding how people can shift those things, how people can respond those particular ways, and what is it that it actually takes to become happy, or to choose to be happy. Mm-hmm. And living from a place of rather than implosion on yourself, turning your stories into an explosion so you can create global impact.
you mentioned that your mother experienced 6 times miscarriages. So my question is, do you consider yourself as a miracle baby?
I think there was definitely a greater purpose for me to be here for
Mhm,
whatever particular reason that is, to shine my light in the world, um, and to go on the journey that I did to understand the adversity that I had to actually navigate. My
mhm.
soul chose this journey. I've been on this particular journey for a particular reason, and to evolve into the person that I am today. So yeah, I think there's a deeper reason why I'm here to be out in the world.
So that being said, how has being a miracle baby shaped your outlook on life from a young age?
Ah, it's a big question, right? As a miracle baby, if you would classify that as a miracle baby, as
Mm,
my mum was told that she couldn't have children again after
right.
having a dry birth with my sister, who's 4.5 years older than me. When I finally came along and held on and came into this earth,
Right.
um, my sister didn't like it very much. And I was very much bullied and ridiculed and beaten up by my sister.
Mhm,
I was emasculated. I put on a lot of weight. I was quite a big kid, and not because of eating unhealthy food. I actually just ate a lot of carbs. So my background is Polish and my blood type is 0. And if I eat too much pasta and fatty foods and all that kind of stuff that the
mhm,
Europeans love to indulge in, pierogi and all of that, it kind of makes my metabolism go really slow and I get fat. And so
mhm,
I was a fat kid. I didn't
mhm.
really realize, oh, I was just eating this good homemade food. And getting beaten up for it. Um, so so I spent a lot of my years up until like the age of 14,
Mhm,
very much in a shell. Like I was very much an introvert. Everyone at school knew me as an introvert. In my primary school, I only had a, only a couple of close friends.
mhm,
Uh, and the school and my peers saw me as someone very, very quiet as a kid, didn't
mhm,
make many friends. But the adults who I felt safe with, because they didn't pick on me or they didn't bully me, right? They just appreciated who I was.
mhm.
Um, they knew me as a motor mouth, like the gift of the gab. I
Right.
would sit there and constantly have conversations with adults rather than the kids because I was scared of the kids, basically.
Mhm. So you mentioned about your relationship with your sister, no? Could you talk about more with that relationship you had with your sister, how that affected your growing up?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I just mentioned, that that experience that my sister, um, and I have spoken to her, a few years ago about this. She just didn't want me there. She felt like I took all the attention away,
Mhm,
the attention away from her. So she became very violent towards me, psychologically and physically,
mhm,
and it was a constant battering, verbally, right?
right.
Constantly putting me down, telling me that I'm fat, me that I'm dumb, telling me that I'm stupid, telling me that nobody loves me, everybody hates me. It was constant, getting beaten up, or humiliated or embarrassed in some sort of way, whatever whatever form it kind of came in.
Mhm.
And all I was kind of looking for was a sister, right? But someone, a sibling.
Mhm.
um, but I kept getting denounced. The really interesting part. So this is part of what I teach is part of the story extraction method, which there's always moments in our lives that we truly hold on to, that we claim certain words and projections in our lives.
Mhm.
And there was a moment when I was 10 years old, and it was 6 o'clock in the morning. So we used to get up at 6 in the morning and make our own lunches, get on a bus and go to school, right? And I was standing there one morning looking out the windows. My sister was at the kitchen sink and I was about 10 feet back from her. It was really heavy. Like the energy was really, really heavy and dark. And I was petrified. I was actually really scared. I could feel the tension from her. And there was just this angry rage kind of thing that I could feel.
Mhm.
Anyway, time was going away and I was kind of like whispered underneath my breath, do you mind giving me some space so I can get my lunch ready? And she spun around in a rage and just lunged at me with this 12-inch carving knife. And I had to jump back about a meter just in shock. And when I landed, the blade was like an inch from my stomach. And then she just started screaming at me, all these profanities. You're so stupid. You're so dumb. You should kill yourself. Nobody loves you. Everybody hates you. And it was that moment that just cemented the beliefs system inside me. I took all of her projection, all of her anger, and I shoved it into my subconscious. And I bolted downstairs, and I was just a mess. I was a blubbering mess. My mum was
Mhm.
holding me, trying to calm me down, cradling me side to side. And that experience just kind of left a deep imprint inside me. And I was kind of always in fear of her.
How I wish right now, at this point of time, you are okay with your sister.
I've given grace and forgiveness to my sister. There has been a lot of work that I've had to do on that, in the
Mhm.
healing and the forgiveness side and the acceptance side.
Mhm.
I still get conversations with her. I'll get on phone calls. She has her own work to do. I keep her at a distance. I don't really bring her into my circle,
Mhm.
um, but I'm still kind. Um, there's elements there that there is still a lot of anger inside of her for whatever it may be. Whatever she's decided, that's her perspective and her story that
Mhm.
she's choosing to live by. Um, it actually got that bad with her son that he ended up having to live with me when he was 16 years old.
Mhm.
So I became one of the main caregivers of her son for a couple of years.
Mhm. Yeah, so you've shared that you felt unloved, unwanted, and you isolated during your childhood. How did these feelings impact your mental well-being, and how did you cope during those tough times?
Well, I didn't really cope when I was a kid. And it wasn't until I was in school, at high school, and I was 15 and I was still quite a big kid. And it was a new school. I'd only been there for 12 months and it was in a new state. So, I was trying to make new friends and I'd made some friends, but I still copped a lot of bullying. And two particular girls were vicious in their bullying. And this one afternoon, I was walking up to the next class and my bag was already at the room and I could see them on the veranda of the classroom and they were bent over And as I got closer, I could see that they had my bag in their hands, right? And they were drawing all over it. And when I got up behind them, I could see they just graffitied my whole bag with all these different derogatory comments and words and everything, right? And
Mhm.
I snapped. I snapped. I lunged in, I grabbed that bag and I screamed at them. I told them to F off and I started yelling and just leave me alone. And I started crying and everything. And as I was doing that, the rest of the classroom turned up. And I just felt humiliated at that point, 30 kids all kind of sniggering and laughing at me, and me crying, holding a bag that's been completely graffitied by these two girls and them laughing at me. And I sat in that classroom that day pretty somber. And as I left, dragging my feet, I walked past the notice board and there was a pamphlet on it for a triathlon. And I just stared at it and I just kept reading it and I just kept reading it. And I took it off the notice board and I put it in my pocket and I jumped on my bike and I rode home and ran straight up the stairs, jumped into my bed and just sat there reading this pamphlet for this triathlon. And then about an hour passed and I walked out to where my mum was cooking dinner and I kind of said to her, "Hey, mum, I want to do a triathlon." And she was like, spun around. What? What? So I want to do a triathlon. You want to do a what? I want to do a triathlon. Really? Yes. Yes, really. I was getting frustrated because you wouldn't believe me.
Mhm.
So it was in 3 months. And what I decided was that I was sick and tired of being bullied. I was sick and tired of being pushed around. I was sick and tired of being humiliated. And I went,
Mhm.
I just want to change everything. And I trained for the next 3 months. I had my dad, who at that time he was driving a taxi, and he'd get home at 4 in the morning, and he'd wake me up and jump on my bike, and we go cruising there, and he'd drive past me every 5 kilometers, screaming out the window what time I was doing. And when I did the race, I came second in the state for my age at 15
Mhm.
in my first race, and it changed everything. It changed the way people spoke to me. It changed the attention of girls. I actually started getting attention from girls. I became quite popular.
Mhm.
It shifted a whole dynamic. There was still a lot of wounds though, right?
Yeah.
And some of these aspects, like if I can give any insight, is that there's a lot of wounds when we grow up as kids. There's a lot of trauma and stuff like that, and we're going to carry that on into our adult age. But the true gift of everything is truly loving yourself, really understanding the triggers and being okay with the triggers, but also taking responsibility of the triggers. And there are so many little tools to understand. Like self-awareness is such a key aspect, because the reason why a lot of people get stuck or they get blocked or they get frustrated or they're frustrated in their relationship or they getting the same things happening in the relationship is because there's unprocessed trauma that they haven't allowed themselves to grieve or heal properly, right? And it's these elements that, even though I had made a definitive shift and I changed my life and I did triathlons and I did 3 triathlons, got injured, couldn't do any sport for 12 months after that. And then I was studying to be an architect. And the reason why I wanted to be an architect was because I was a creative kid, but I chose something that would keep me alone, that I could work by myself, where
Mhm.
no one would disturb me because I was scared of getting bullied, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. So,
And
yeah. Go
yes,
ahead.
and about a year after I did that triathlon, I accidentally fell into entertainment, to a
mm,
theater, into a theater play, and
mm,
I changed all of my subjects from architecture, from science and maths one and maths two, and all of that into arts, into
mm,
creative arts. This little fat kid who had no voice, who was beaten up, who had been sexually assaulted a couple of times, who held on to all of these insecurities and self-worth issues, decided that he was going to go and put himself out on the stage in one of the most criticizing industries in the world. That was confronting.
mm. Right, right. I just want to get back to like your early struggle. Who did you turn to for support when you are going through tough times? How did they impact your journey?
See, that's the thing. Like when I was going through it, up until 14, right? The closest person that would probably give me the most support was my nana. And not that I would share much. I would, they would see scenarios and I would just be held and comforted and stuff like that.
Mm,
But it wasn't like it was a talking point. I didn't go looking for therapy at that age or anything like that. I just dealt with it
mm.
and kind of stayed inside of myself. Um,
Understood.
I wasn't a troublemaker as a kid. I was, like I said, I was inside, and the interesting part is that it didn't make me angry, right?
Mhm,
I was I wasn't an angry kid. It wasn't until I got separated, well, that I left a relationship in my mid 20s, um, where there was two. We had two children together, and um, that particular relationship created a lot of anger in me because there was a lot of hurt. There was a lot of deliberate hurt. There was um, physical attacks at me,
mhm.
and um, it was very confronting. It was almost like, if we understand energy, which we do, um, there were these fears that were inside of me that women would beat me up. And funny enough, I got into relationships where women were beating me up.
You mentioned about you've been sexually assaulted, and this experience is incredibly traumatic in your young age. How did that shape your sense of self-worth, and what steps did you take to heal from it?
Again, it destroyed my self-worth. It destroyed my self-esteem. I had no self-esteem. It wasn't until I did a triathlon that I changed things as a kid, but I never told anyone about it. Like there's an aspect that when you're a man, that being in a moment, and I didn't even look at it as sexual assault because I was a man,
Mhm.
because I was a boy, right?
Right, right.
Uh, it wasn't until I understood what sexual assault is that I was like, damn, yeah, I was terrified for my life. I was threatened to be killed, right? And at 11 years of age.
Right.
And afterwards, the thing about it is that I was angry at me. I was angry at me that I had let that happen,
Mhm.
right? I blamed myself, and that sat inside me for a long time. And it's hard, but I shut it away. The first time I actually brought it out was during I was at method acting college when I was about 19. Um, and it was the first time I actually spoke about this experience because we were doing a really heavy scene, and they were asking, what kind of heavy emotions have you been through? And I was like, well, there's this. And it was only my instructor that I was, my tutor that I was speaking to, a
Mhm.
teacher, not the rest of the class, but he was like, wow, like that's intense. I really want you to embrace that. I want you to bring it out. I want you to, really release it and show me how it's actually affected you and made you feel and everything like that. So that was the very first time that it actually allowed it to
Mhm.
come out of me and be expressed and let the emotions and bawl my eyes out and cry about it.
Mhm.
And then I locked it away again after that. I didn't tell anyone. No one knew about it.
Mhm.
Not even not even um my ex-wife, who I was with for almost 20 years. She didn't know about it,
Mhm.
right? It wasn't until um just over 4 years ago that I was standing in the kitchen and I was listening to Les Brown. I don't know if anyone knows Les Brown, but Les Brown is an incredible speaker. And I was just listening to some of his insights and lessons of life. And he said, there's an old African proverb, and resentment is like drinking poison and hoping that the other person dies. And I was like, yeah, and I'd heard it before, right? And I walked to the fridge and opened the fridge, and then it just hit me. And I went, holy shit, I have never forgiven myself about that. And I've never forgiven that other person.
Mhm.
And I just broke down and cried. I fell into the fridge. I had food falling over the top of me and just started bawling and letting it out. And the first thing that I knew, so this is the really interesting aspect of grief and things that we don't that a lot of people don't know because you hold it inside of you, right?
Right.
You you hold these experiences inside of you. But one of the most one of the most freeing aspects of grief from past experiences is actually letting it out, crying about it, talking to someone about it. Um, so I knew that that was a moment that I had to start talking about it. And I jumped into some men's groups and I started speaking about it. This is my experience. This is what I did. So it's really important. So 2 years before that, I went through a very high conflict divorce. And when I say high conflict, there was another man, there was another family that broke up. It was very public, very, very public. Kids in the same school. It was like a huge explosion in the community,
Right.
right? And I had to deal with that. I had to confront it every single day. I had to see people every single day. I had to elevate through my own emotional entanglement, my own wounds, my own sorrow, and
Mhm.
my own hurt. And I worked extremely hard, and I did a lot of research in epigenetics and quantum physics and mindset, and listening to and learning from some of the greatest speakers in the world about um, working through grief. And the most important aspect is, yes, it takes time, but you have to be proactive about it. By being proactive, you actually have to acknowledge it and you have to accept it. And then you have to go through the process of forgiving it
Mhm.
once you've accepted it, which accepting can take a little bit of time.
Right.
Forgiving's one of the hardest parts, but you can't go into the healing side of things until you truly forgive.
Right. Right.
A lot of people would jump from accepting and just go, I'm going to go and heal now, but they won't forgive this scenario. They won't forgive the person. involved. So they're doing all this healing, but they're kind of trapped. And then they spend years in healing because they actually haven't gone through that deep process of acceptance and forgiveness, which is difficult. It's
Right.
not easy, but it's so possible if you just practice, because it's all about disconnecting or disconnecting the energies, but it's also allowing yourself to shift the perspectives of the meaning of what that event means to you. That's the most important, because memories are the are what holds our triggers, right? Our memories to the stories, the belief systems, and whatever belief systems there is a perspective that we have held on to our own selves. So yes, were there moments in my life where I would go into an outburst at a frustration at my partner? Yes. Had I confronted the fact that I had this sexual assault in me? No. Did I know that that's what it was connected to? No, no. I hadn't done the deep work to truly understand me and my journey and how everything is connected.
You've gone through, as I understand, two marriage and divorces. Is it?
The first one wasn't a divorce. There was a separation. So we weren't actually married. We were engaged, but we weren't married. Um, but the second one was a divorce, yes.
Okay. So how have those experiences shape your approach to relationship and your work as life coach? How it how it helped you, or how what value you gain from it? What
The value, yeah, the value that I gained from it was understanding what grief is, how to move through grief, how to understand our own spirit and trust our own heart, how to protect our heart from building walls around our heart. It's not easy.
Mhm.
It really isn't easy to be authentic. Not a lot of people can just talk about their life experience. Like that first separation that I went through in my early 20s, man, there was so much shit involved in that. Like it was just horrible, the circumstances that took place, the way that I felt, the no in like I was completely unempowered, my and then I felt guilt and shame, and I lived with guilt and shame for years after that, and it was hard. It
Right.
was so hard to
Mhm.
live with guilt and shame, and when you're young, you don't realize it. You don't know that it's actually impacting you until you're able to reflect back on your life.
Mhm.
No one was explaining it to me, but it does have a massive impact. Guilt and shame are the lowest vibrating energies as a frequency that we have.
Mhm.
So, and the interesting part, so this is the interesting part. I was still able to be really happy. Like a lot of people knew me as the most positive person they knew. People that have known me since school, all my life,
Mhm.
and they still say if anyone can get through anything, Kane can get through it. And part of that reason is because we either get to choose to focus on the problem, or we accept our decisions and focus on a solution. So it was like in my mid 20s, I became very philosophical.
Mhm.
Like I was reading a lot of stuff about consciousness, about presence, about accepting, about making those decisions and just accepting you and living in that powerful aspect of who you are,
Mhm.
no matter what had taken place. obviously there's remorse and there's shame or guilt from doing something when you're younger, but you can't hold on to that because you don't know. Like I didn't know what I knew back then, like what I do now.
Right.
Would my decisions be different back then if I knew what I knew now? Yeah, absolutely. But I can't judge myself on that because I didn't. That's part of the journey. That's part of life. It's understanding that it's all there as a lesson for us to grow and learn from.
That's
So
right.
what I've learned from what gives this as a superpower to me is that I'm able to actually see into the souls of my clients, into noticing their blind spots, into looking at the patterns,
Right.
understanding their story, understanding their whole story, their life story, their journey, their existence, and how everything is connected.
Mhm.
Everything in our life is connected by a recurring inner dialogue, the same repetitive inside stuff that's talking to us.
Right. Right. You mentioned that you shifted your studying from architect to entertainment industry, right?
Yeah.
What was the motivation behind that transition, and how did it change your life?
What motivated me to do that was when I went, like, she wasn't a girlfriend, but she was a friend who was a girl at
Mhm.
16. So, after I did my triathlons, I had a lot more girlfriends, right?
Right.
Um, and she said, "Hey, Kane, do you want to come and support me at this audition for the school theater restaurant?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'll come and support. Yeah, sure." So I was supporting her, sitting on the sides, going, "Yeah, you got this, you got this. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was awesome." And then they asked me to audition. And I was like, "No way. No, 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 no. I'm not auditioning. I'm just here for her." And they kept asking me, and I started crumbling. I was like, "All right, I'll audition." And then I got the part. And then we did the performance,
Mhm.
and I fell in love, and I loved it. And I couldn't believe I loved it. Being in the bright lights in front of a live audience,
Mhm.
playing a character. Obviously, the character was allowing me to be someone else, to embrace some of that self empowerment through the characters, right? And I was like, wow, I can be anything I want. And the next day at school, I bumped into my art teacher, and she looked at me in shock and she went, "Oh, Kane, I saw you last night in the theater restaurant. You were amazing. I think you found your gift." And it was the first time ever that I actually got a heartfelt accolade at school. And that propelled me even more. The interesting part, the interesting part to that is that what I then actually acknowledged about myself was if I achieved, I would get love. It's part of the drive of being in the film industry was to get acknowledgement so I could feel loved,
Mhm.
which is part of that limiting belief. That when my sister said nobody loves you, everybody hates you, you should just go and kill yourself. It was a deep ingrained belief that I've had to really work on.
Right.
Appreciate the love inside myself because that's the only way that we move forward. It's the only way that we actually bring love into the world is loving us, our story, our journey. And there's atrocities, but they're all there to turn you into this beautiful, wise person that you get to share your wisdom, your expertise to be able to help other people through these challenges, through these problems, but only if you're telling people about it. That's why story is so important in personal branding. People actually have to talk about themselves and say, hey, I've been through this. I know what it's like. You want to
Yeah,
know what it's like trying to deal with sexual assault? Hey, I've been there, know that. It was
right.
pretty tough. You cry on my shoulder? Come on, let's have a chat. Do you know what I mean? Been through a
Correct.
divorce? Hell, yeah, I've been through high conflict. It's been crazy. It took me 9 months to get it to a place where we could co-parent properly in peace,
Mm.
and still do after 6 years. And that took a lot of effort, a lot of power, a lot of healing. See, you got to change yourself for
Right.
your environment to change.
Let's talk about mental health care. In your life, when you are stressed and anxiety seem overwhelming, what personal strategy or habit have you developed to manage stress and anxiety in your daily life? And how did you maintain hope and keep moving forward when you face challenging setbacks?
Yeah, it's a really beautiful question. And I think this is really paramount, right? I believe everyone needs meditation in their life. I believe everyone needs exercise and physical activity in their life. And they also need a vision. They need a clear vision of where they want to go. Um, grief's not easy, but you can actually get through it the more that you actually lean into it. So I'm going to give you this acronym, like grief's a journey. Okay, grief's a journey, and grief will create anxiety. It'll create, stress because it's been sitting in the back. If you haven't fully grieved something properly and you're holding on to it, or you haven't let it go, or these past experiences, right? They're going to create, blowouts. You get angry, you'll get anxiety, you get stressed easy, right? All these behavioral patterns that you've actually put into your life. So understanding that there's two differences, you can only be in a primal state or a powerful state. There's only two places to be. You can't be in one or the other, right? You're either in a primal state of anxiousness and stress and fear and procrastination and disbelief and perfectionism and all of these things that keep you stuck and feeling like poo and stressing out, or there is a powerful state of being happy and passionate and joyful and loving, which is all the states that actually create. So there's always the decision to self analyze yourself. And don't get me wrong, there's people who are all at all different stages of life, right? All different stages of their own therapeutic awareness of the healing that they have to do inside themselves. Um, but there's only two states to be in. Like, like there's only ever a positive and there's only ever a negative. And we only get to choose which one we want to be in. So if we are in a negative, is the negative true? No, because it's making you feel like shit. It can't be true. To be in a powerful state, which is your God given right, is being in a positive state, that powerful state, that positivity, that ability to be in love and creative and joyful and passionate. Um, and accepting and willing. So there are things for people to negotiate themselves every day. And it's all neural pathways. This is just pure psychology, right? It's all about being really clear about your own self and where you want to go, the thoughts, the emotions, and the things that you want to say every single day. These things are paramount. Like, what direction are you going in your thoughts and your emotions, and what is it that you're saying about yourself, and what is it that you're saying about other people, and be really clear about it. Look 12 years in front of you and go, this is who I believe I'm going to be on the inside, in understanding all of my thoughts and my emotions and the things that I'm actually saying about myself. If you get triggered, acknowledge the trigger and ask yourself, where the hell did that trigger come from? Why did it get upset? Why did that one thing that one person say to me, why did that trigger me? Why am I upset? Write it down. Write it down in a journal. If you're going through really high intense emotions at some point in your life, massive challenges, financial challenges, drug challenges, whatever it may be, like, get a journal. You want to start changing, get a journal and start writing down some stuff of what it is that's coming up for you. Go and do some exercise. Go and speak to someone. Get a coach to start helping you. Or if you're not ready for a coach, go to some therapy. Allow yourself to process some stuff. It's okay to process. It's a necessity, actually. So there's a saying, the feeling is in the healing. You have to feel shit. You have to feel the emotions. It's the experience is the feeling. You can't get around that. That's how we process grief. That's how we process past things that were filled with adversity to bring us into a state of love, because it's all about love. So the faster that we can get back into a state of love and know that love is the only true aspect of true creation, the true form of connection, of communication, of truth, the faster that you can do that and know that that's the place that everything actually happens with a positive aspect, then do whatever you can to get there.
Right. As I research about you, I believe you identify yourself as a professional identity transformation. You now help transform others' lives and businesses. Can you explain what professional identity transformation means to you and how you apply it in your work?
Great question. I love that. Love that. Great question. Okay, so the story extraction method is a certain method that I teach people, and it goes through the journey of their life. Right? We we look at the very beginning, and even if they can't open their minds to the very beginning, we'll do some shadow work to discover some of the things at the beginning of their life. And it's understanding that the journey in our life is interconnected. Everything's connected. Everything's got a particular purpose, right? And we're attracting everything in our existence. Now, like I was saying earlier, that recurring inner dialogue that we lock into our subconscious is always a projection. So the reason why people get stuck is because they aren't sure, they're not making a connection about a circumstance. Why did that happen? Humans are curious by nature, right? We're just curious people. So if we don't understand something that's happened in our lives, then we're always wondering why. Why did it happen? Right? It's when we actually are able to connect the dots backwards, see the clarity of why things were attracted to us, that people were able to actually witness their own stories that they're telling themselves. And just remember, any limiting beliefs, any recurring inner dialogues, any woundings that happen to you when you're a child is associated to projections outside of you. right? The environment, the people around you, their beliefs, their trauma, their wounds projected onto you, and you take it on and take it on board and you claim it as your own belief. That creates the neural pathway, that creates the wounding, that creates the way that you respond in your life. So there's only six primary responses of human behavior, which is a belief of thought, and that belief is the structure of what you actually claimed in the beginning of your environment, whatever it may be. That then stimulates the thought process, and that thought's connected to an emotion. So it's the memory, right? So the memory's got an emotion to it, and then that goes into your speech, what it is that you're actually saying about yourself. What are you saying outside? Which then creates the action. What kind of action is actually taking place, which gives you your result, right? That's why we have to be so careful about the words that we actually say about ourselves, about our past, about the people around us, because it creates a vibration and it creates an action. So the work that I do looks at all of these stories that we've put into our mind, and we then learn how to shift the perspective, because a memory or wound is only a perspective that you've created, that you personally have created in your own self. So becoming the empowered creator for yourself is the ability to be self-aware and acknowledge the patterns that are in your life that you can then shift, so you can upgrade your own identity, because it's all about the vision of who you see yourself in about 10 years time, and then going, right, that's my direction, that's where I'm going. I'm clear about this. Here's my 1 year, here's my 5 years, here's my 10 years. This is the direction I'm going. These are the things that I need to implement in my life. These are the certain behaviors and the thought patterns that I need to implement in my life. This is the love that I need to bring into. These are all associated to upgrading your own identity.
Right.
Because once you're not confused about who you are, you can actually accept who you are, let it go, and know that I can create whoever I want to be now. I'm not holding on to the freaking past that I thought was who I was.
Right.
That's the part of the story extraction. It's a beautiful, soft exploring journey. It's just like being an eagle flying over your own existence, and seeing the laughter and the cries and the tears and it's beautiful.
I believe that there are there is this certain time where you've been cyber attacked, you lost your social media accounts, and my question is how you managed to rebuild your business and what was the process like? How did you maintain your resilience?
Good question. Since that cyber attack, I've been on a massive, deeper spiritual journey in my own self, deeper awareness in my own self after that whole thing. When it actually happened, I spent 3 weeks with Facebook trying to get back into the accounts.
Mhm.
Uh, and the day that it happened, I was just about to launch a new program and start the marketing with it, right? And I sat there after that 3 weeks and I was like, can I do this again? Can I rebuild? Like, that took a lot of energy. It took a lot of power to bring that up and have it to where it was. And I was a nobody. Like, I started a new profile and I had all these things up against me. I couldn't message certain people, a certain amount of people. I had all these restrictions. I got barred a few times. First time ever that I was getting barred and I wasn't allowed to do this. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? It's doing my head in. But I kept going. And I just focused on my message, and I focused on just doing the action steps that I knew. And I rebuilt my audience fairly rapidly and
Mhm.
started getting my message. And within the first 60 days, I was already getting clients again. So there's avenues, and I'll tell you what the fastest way to do it is: speaking. I was in other people's masterclasses. I was running workshops. I threw the gauntlet at that because I knew that this is the fastest way that you actually build trust with people, by actually putting yourself out there and showing what it is that you can do that can help them,
Right.
that and sharing your story, which is part of your transformation, your depending on your product that you're utilizing.
Mhm.
But it took a lot of resilience, yeah, and it really did take a lot of focus. 3 weeks after it happened, the girl I was seeing at the time left the relationship, and I kind of sat there going, "Okay, cool, here we go." I'm in heartache, I'm in pain, lost my whole business. Shit, what am I gonna do? But I just kept going because I
Right.
had to,
Yeah.
and it's been a really, really, really. And I want to make this really, really clear. Your stories inside you, they're beautiful. There are shadows inside of you, and you got to love them as much as the good things about you. We all have, we all screw up in life. We all make mistakes. It doesn't matter. We just have to promise ourselves that we will get better, that we'll make better decisions, that we can learn from that experience and become more consciously aware of the things that we're actually doing in our lives, in our families, in our communities. These are the most important things to bringing joy and love into the world.
Right. Looking back at everything you've overcome, what do you think were the most important factors in your personal growth and development? And what is the most valuable life lesson you've learned about overcoming adversity?
Yep. Everything is energy. Everything is energy. So this is what I learned very deeply with acting. Everything that you do as an actor is all about energy transfer. Every word, every movement, every connection with that other person on the stage, on camera, whatever it may be, it has to be in the moment. You have to be present. You have to be real, and there has to be a transfer of energy. And when you notice when there's subtext, when there's something else going on, when someone's not present, when someone's not aligned,
Mhm.
it's exactly the same in life. People know when people aren't listening. People know when they're busy with something else. People know when they're distracted. People know that when you're having a conversation that they're not actually listening to you because they're too busy in their head thinking about their own problems, and they're not giving you the attention that they deserve for that moment. How important is that for relationships? It's the most important. If you want to have a beautiful relationship, you got to have a beautiful conversation and communicate. Be present when you are communicating, even if you've got busy lives. Make sure you dedicate 5 to 10 to 15 minutes a day just to download for a minute. Let each other be heard. No criticism, no judgments. Just allow that truth to come through. So the biggest lesson, and this is part of the whole identity shift, the biggest lesson in understanding adversity is that everything is energy. So everything from the past is a memory. The memories are held in the body, in
Mhm.
different parts of the body, right? In all your different pressure points, you'll have trauma related aspects. And if you haven't dealt with them, it'll turn into dis-ease, right? You'll get pains in your body. You'll start losing comprehension. All of this kind of avenue is all associated to the energy that we're not choosing to let go of, which is the emotion of past situations. So those past experiences are keeping us stuck in the past if we haven't shifted our energy related to the emotion to it. And this is why perspective is so important, because the only way to get into true presence is releasing everything about what happened 2 minutes ago and for the rest of your life, and just love that that was the experience. Easier said than done, I get it. But that's why the story extraction method is so important. It's such a pivotal tool because it explains how everything is connected and how you played out those certain experiences because of the recurring inner dialogue, because of those beliefs that you had inside of you. You were just reflecting it back at you. So the faster that we can elevate ourselves into the present moment after an experience, because we're always going to get triggered. The mind absorbs thousands of bits of information every second. And and especially in a high intense moment of trauma of some sort, there's tens of thousands of bits of information that the mind is actually absorbing and cementing into your cells. So yeah, we're going to get triggered through life on certain avenues, and that's okay. The question is, how fast can you change that trigger? How fast can you move that energy into a positive energy? Because that's all it is. That's what I've learned. That's what I've understood on this beautiful journey, is that everything is able to shift in a moment if you choose it to be. You might get triggered, write it down. Where did it come from? Understand it, but know that you can shift it straight away.
Right.
That's the emotional intelligence. That's just being kind to yourself too, right? Giving yourself a little bit of love, but love, because everything comes back to love for you. The more that you love you, and the more that you put the standards in for that love that you have for you, the more respect that you have for yourself is what you will attract back into your life.
Right.
The less that you respect yourself, the less that you hold yourself high or your standards high, the more of that you're going to attract. That's what happens. Want to change your environment? Change your vibration, change your view, change your belief, change the way that you look in the mirror at yourself every single day. Speak to yourself with love and grace and tell yourself how beautiful you actually are. I know some days it's not easy. It can be challenging. But the more that we actually do it, the more that it becomes a practice, and then it becomes easy, and then it's a habit, and then it's a belief.
Right. Before we wrap it up, what moral lesson or advice would you like to share to our viewers who may be going through their own struggles?
Depending where anyone is at, because people are going to be all different stages, right?
Right.
Someone might be at the very, very bottom of the barrel. And if you're at the very, very bottom of the barrel and you're beating yourself up, you're thinking about suicide, go and get some help straight away. Like actually go to a hospital, go to a counselor, go to a therapist, go and do that shit straight away. right? You might even have to. I don't agree, but in extreme circumstances, for a very short period of time, sometimes the pharmaceuticals might have to be involved just to calm down the nervous system. That's extreme circumstances.
Right.
But on the most part, most people are dealing with high stress lives, get shit done. Look how busy we make our lives. All this technology around us. Of course, there's stress. And kids are only going to represent what that parent is feeling, right? If that parent is stressed, the kid's going to be stressed. The kid's going to have anxiety. Parents got anxiety, kids got anxiety. So it's about being aware of your environment, and whatever you're doing inside yourself is going to be a projection into your world. It's what you're going to bring back. Take responsibility of your own actions. Take responsibility of your behaviors. Write them down. Own them. Like, really own them. Like, if you hurt someone, apologize. Unless you're a narcissist and you don't have the ability to go into that area of, oh no, I'm too righteous to actually say sorry or that I'm wrong or anything like that, because I'm not wrong and you're wrong. I'm never wrong. Well, you're never going to get anywhere. You're never going to create an abundant life, because an abundance only comes from true love. You can create abundance from fear, but that's when you end up being empty and not living in purpose and you're unfulfilled. That's why people get coaches, to understand, why am I feeling unstuck? Why am I feeling unfulfilled? Why aren't things making sense to me? Why can't I give my love like I want to give my love? Why am I holding back? How can I put those action steps into place every day so I can get the results that I want to get, so I can break through these subconscious patterns and beliefs about myself? These are the important things that people need to be really aware of. So depending on where you are at your journey, what level you're at, whether you're a high achiever, high achievers, go and get a coach. High achievers, or parents, struggling with communication, well, go and get a relationship coach, go and get a communication coach, whatever it may be. Look at these avenues to fast track answers, to get better answers, to get better results. So you can shift those beliefs. Be kind to yourself.
Right.
Far out. Be kind to yourself. Appreciate the journey. Just be present in the journey and know that everything is happening for a particular reason. That the more love and appreciation that you can actually bring into your present moment and just go, well, here's a problem. So what can I do, just with curiosity, right? What can I do to solve this problem? Like, what can we do? What can we play with? Be curious about it. Don't get angry about it, because you can't create a different result from the same place that the problem was created. You have to get into a different vibration, that powerful state, that ability of being in love and curiosity and passion, and go, okay, so let's find an answer. It's like being in a relationship and you're both at loggerheads with each other and you can't calm down. Break away. Give yourselves a moment. Stop. Shift your energy. Come back. Actually talk with love and excitement and curiosity. Be open. No criticism or judgments. That's the other thing that will decrease everyone, is their own criticism, their own ability to um, um, and trust me, I've been to all of these places. I've been through all of this, going through drugs when I was younger and stuff like that, drinking a lot of alcohol when I was younger. I was in the entertainment industry. There were drugs around. I was actually really strict until I was with that girl that I was with, that I had a couple of kids with, who introduced me to it. And initially, before that, I was like, no, man, I just need my shit together. And then all of a sudden, because they were all artists, and I'm sitting there going, oh, yeah, well, I guess I should find out and be curious like an artist, and understand what that process is like on being on drugs. And there you go. And then I found an avenue of, when I was depressed, of maybe I should take some drugs. We've all been there, but gosh, it's so much more peaceful when we come to peace with ourselves. We start looking at how we can serve other people. If you're having a bad day, it doesn't matter what walk of life that you're doing. If you're having a bad day, go and ask someone if they need some help with their groceries, with their laundry. Go and ask someone, just, hey, can I help you with something? You'd be amazed at how quickly you'll shift when someone gives you gratitude because you're just giving something for free. It'll make you feel appreciated. And sometimes we just don't appreciate ourselves. So do things for others so they can feel your love, feel your appreciation, that you're just caring. There's a couple of my wisdom points.
Finally, for those who are interested to work with you, how can they reach you out or connect with you?
Yeah, well, they can definitely reach me on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. I'll have a website up, which will be kanenovak.com soon. So Kane Novak on Facebook, Kane Novak on Instagram, Kane Novak on LinkedIn, all the media, all the social media platforms, also TikTok. There you go. You can email me at kane@kanenovak.com. And I've actually got a VIP day coming up. It's part of my structure, to go through this, a whole full day spent with me going through the story extraction, really highlighting people's messages and how they can create that impact out into the world and truly attract the right audience that they know that they are there to serve. Brilliant.
Truly, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you for giving me the time to talk with you and share some of what I do. Thank you.
My dear viewers, as we conclude on our interview with Kane Novak, there's an important lesson we can all take from his journey. No matter how painful or difficult our past may be, we have the power to grow from it. Kane's journey shows us that self-love, forgiveness, and acceptance are essential steps toward healing and moving forward. His story reminds us that we can choose to stay in a place of anger, sadness, or resentment. Or we can choose to find peace, happiness, and love. My dear viewers, if you are going through tough times, remember that it is okay to feel the emotions, but also take the responsibility for your healing. Reflect on your journey and know that everything you've experienced can help you shape a stronger, wiser version of yourself. And don't be afraid to reach out for support, whether it is through journaling, seeking help from a family member, a friend, a coach or therapist, or simply talking to someone who can understand you. If you want to connect with Kane, you can send him a message directly to any of his social media accounts. And if you have found value in this channel and my content, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more content on personal growth and mental well-being. Follow me on my social media account, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Let's continue this journey together. Before we end, I would love to hear you. What challenges you face and overcome in your life? How do you cope with it? Drop your thoughts, ideas, and personal story in the comment below. I love to continue conversation with you. Thank you so much, my dear viewers, for being here with me today. Again, my name is Richardon Barandino, saying that life is a journey, but always remember that you are not walking it alone. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless us all.